the project.
Welcome back to the project.
Kearah Ronan is a role model, a mum, a victim of violence. And at 5 months pregnant, the last place she should have been was behind bars. So how did our justice system fail her so badly? And a warning to Indigenous viewers, this report contains images of deceased people.
It's 2017 and Kearah Ronan is crowned Miss NAIDOC, and she's more than a beauty queen. She begins a crusade against injustice and youth detention in particular. 2 years later, she falls victim to the same system she was campaigning against.
I had to go inside where I was strip searched. I had to undress in front of 2 female officers. And then one of the officers said to me, "Now you need to squat and cough."
Kearah isn't a criminal. She's a Catholic education worker, mum to 4-year-old Gladys, and a victim of domestic violence.
I was giving evidence against a former partner. I did not attend court that day.
Kearah was suffering from morning sickness. She just discovered she was pregnant.
I was very sick at that time, so I was actually at a doctor's appointment.
Just to be sure there were no problems, Kearah says she rang the court and asked if they needed a medical certificate. No, don't worry, they told her, it's been adjourned. Imagine her surprise then when 5 months later she found the magistrate had issued a warrant for her arrest for failure to appear in court.
I left uni, picked my daughter up from kindy on that Friday afternoon, dropped her off at my mum's, and I just said, "Mum, look, I'm going to go down to the station and sort this matter out," because there couldn't possibly be a warrant for my arrest.
The police said they had no choice but to take her into custody, and 5 months pregnant, she spent the night in the Perth Watch House.
Cement block, concrete floor, a foam mattress, no sheets, just a itchy old blanket and a steel toilet. So I found myself calling the distress alarm on several occasions, just asking for toilet paper so I could use the toilet. The response was, "You're not in a hotel."
So let's get this straight. The pregnant woman who was assaulted ends up in jail.
Western Australia's Attorney-General was quick to apologise and admits there's a double standard.
If this case involved a middle-class pregnant white woman living in Cottesloe, do I think the police would have arrested this woman from Cottesloe and thrown her in the cells overnight? The answer is clearly no.
Indigenous people make up just 2.2% of the WA population, but account for 42% of adult prisoners. More than a third of the male prisoners are Indigenous, and almost half of the female prison population. Back in 2014, Kearah's cousin, Ms Dhu, died in police custody at South Headland.
There was so much going through my mind at the time, and after losing Ms Dhu and just being aware of how much power these people in authority have, they're so powerful, they can pretty much, do what they want. And the fear that was instilled into me after losing Ms Dhu, it was horrifying.
It was another tragic case where a woman who was the victim of domestic violence was locked up by the police. So you're now seeing history repeat itself.
In that case, police had arrested Ms Dhu over unpaid fines.
She was the victim of domestic violence. She had broken ribs. Septicemia had set in.
The coroner concluded Ms Dhu had suffered a catastrophic deterioration in health while in custody, but police thought she was faking. One called her a junkie. She died 2 days later, just one of 43 Indigenous people who've died in custody in Western Australia in the last 10 years. Despite all of the facts and figures, the state's police commissioner doesn't think his force is racist.
I'm on the public record to say things must improve. I've had nothing brought to me on this particular matter to say that the police were racist in this particular matter. So I would strongly refute any notion that the unfortunate circumstances which resulted in Ms Ronan being arrested and put in custody overnight was anything to do with her Aboriginality.
John Quigley seems confident that his raft of reforms can turn the tide.
The first change is a 24/7 custody notification service. We're also introducing legislation to eliminate incarceration for the non-payment of fines. We won't have another Ms Dhu in this state.
And the police force says it's on board.
I've now issued guidelines that will provide police with greater discretion, and I'm very pleased that the Attorney-General is making amendments to the law.
As for Kearah Ronan, she's back in court in October, seeking the justice she's so far been denied.
I consider myself lucky after everything that has happened, because I could have been another statistic, you know, I could have been another number.
I hope those changes make a difference. Because
Yeah.
the problem that you find with all these things is exactly what the police officer in there was saying, is that they say, oh, in this particular case, we can't find any racism. Oh, in that case we can't, and in that case we can't, and in that case we can't. And you never find it in an individual case. And then it all adds up to a phenomenon.
One of the
like that.
important changes there is not putting people in jail for non-payment of fines, because clearly Indigenous people would struggle to pay those fines off if they accumulate.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't go to jail for not paying a fine.
Yeah, and hopefully those changes will happen. But when you see such stark examples of that, and that's just in one family, you know,
that's right.
let's hope that discretion is used wisely.
Indeed.
Well, we will be back after the break with Stranger Things star Dacre Montgomery.